Hello, year five, and welcome to your reading lesson for today. So again, it's going to be a nice short video, just like the one from yesterday was. You're going to be looking at the same text today, but we're going to be looking at a different skill. So today we're going to be looking at inferring information from the text. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and recap the type of questions that are used for inference, okay? So the main focus then for inference is looking at making inferences from the text and explaining and justifying reasons with evidence. Now, inference tends to be your 3-mark questions. Sometimes it's your 2-mark questions where you have to give a point and then you have to provide some evidence from the text. We'll be doing a lot of work on the inference for next year, okay, because inference is usually one of the ones that comes with 3-mark questions, and there's a lot of marks to be gained from 3-mark questions. Even if you only get 2 out of 3, if there's 6 3-mark questions in that test, you're going to get 12 marks, okay, so there's a lot of marks to be able to have from it. So Inference Iggy is here to then help you pick up ideas from the text that aren't always written. And sometimes we forget that inference, the answer's not there in the text. You have to do what's called reading between the lines. So you have to use the evidence to understand what might be being said or what might be being inferred. For example, we've looked at this one before. Jenny's face was red. She wrinkled her brow and began to shout. So we think, well, what do we think that means that she's feeling? So we think, well, when someone goes red, maybe they're hot, maybe they're embarrassed, maybe they're angry. But then she wrinkled her brow and began to shout. Okay, well, when I'm embarrassed, I don't tend to shout. When I'm blushed because I'm embarrassed, I wouldn't really shout, I wouldn't say anything. But when I'm angry, okay, I might start to have those feelings. And when you furrow your brow is when you frown, okay? So that's the main focus that we're going to be looking at today. So there are multitudes of different questions, okay, that could be to do with inference. And the problem is because there's so many questions, I don't think sometimes you always realise that it's an inference question that you're being asked. And some of them are a lot easier than others. So we'll start with this one here, okay? So we've got the tick box questions, a very common one to come up, a very common one that a lot of you lost a lot of marks on during the test paper that you did last week. Some of them said tick 2, and for one of the questions, the majority of you only ticked 1. So you lost a mark for both of those questions, because sometimes when it's a tick 2, you might only be given 1 mark. Sometimes you might be given 2, sometimes you might be given 1. So even if you tick one of them, it's correct. If you don't have the other one on there, you get 0, okay? They're the easiest questions because it literally tells you tick 1, okay? And some of you still didn't read the questions properly during the test paper. So these are your easiest ones here. Ticking the question, tell us what the story is about. Tell us how this character might be feeling. Why do you think this person's done that? Why do you think that person's where they are? Now, I've said this to you before. You have to be careful with these questions because they'll give you some answers that are very similar to what's written in the text, but it'll be backwards, okay? So you'll be given the option of some of these questions do a bit like your true and false ones, but some of them might be true, but a word is missing and you might think that's one to tick, okay? But like it says here, you need to check how many questions you need to tick because some of you don't always read it properly, okay? Now this one, okay, this is the easy one to be able to identify. This is your 5 W's and your H, so who, what, where, when, why, and how, okay? These tend to come with a quote. So it says, look at this page, read this quote, read about this character's description. Why do you think this person feels this particular way? How do you know that they are hiding from someone or that they don't feel sad? What do you think they might do next? Okay. Those are all based around your inference skills, and that's where you have to be a detective. You've got to use your reasoning because they're questions. You have to reason your answer. Okay. You've then got the multiple answer question. Now, there were a couple of multiple answers in our test papers. One of them was quite a difficult one, and some of you got it right, some of you got it wrong. One of them was about how do octopuses camouflage themselves. And one of them was that they change colour, and the other one was they change texture. Now, some of you didn't get any of those marks. Some of you put both of them in the same point, so then only get 1 mark if it's only in the 1 point box. And some of you put it for the answer for the question beforehand, okay? So it's important to read the questions. So you might be asked to give more than 1 different answer, okay? These are almost like your 2-mark questions split up. When you do a point evidence question for your 2 marks, you make your 2 points, and then the question downstairs is we'll give the evidence, okay? So what evidence is there of Martine being stubborn? You'd give 2 answers, then explain what evidence is there to suggest that she might change. So that's when you then explain your point. Now, it might be about how the character acts, could be about how they behave, it could be about emotions, so inferring someone's feeling. If they're angry, how might they behave? If they're sad, how might they behave? That's very much a lot of your show, not tell, which links into a lot of our English work that we've done writing about. The next one that we've got on here then has got the fact and opinion. Okay? Most of you get the fact and opinion ones correct. Okay, but it can be tricky sometimes because it can link to facts, but you have to decide, well, do I agree with that fact? Because if I don't agree with it, then that must mean that it's an opinion. Okay, do I agree with it? Okay, then maybe it could still be opinion, but is it then going to be a fact? So a fact is when we've got factual information, there's a statistic, there's a number, there's a fact that goes with it that's categorically true. Okay, so today is Wednesday. That's a fact. Look at the calendar, check the date, I know today is Wednesday. Today is a glorious day. Okay, well, that's a bit ambiguous because although it isn't really the most glorious day outside, I might have a different opinion. You might say, well, it's an awful day outside. It's a sunny day outside. It's hot. Some of you who don't like the heat, like Damari, who's always cold in summer in my classroom, okay, might say, well, actually, I'm cold in here. And someone else goes, well, actually, no, I'm hot in here. It's an opinion, okay? So it's important to make sure you get those ones correct. Now, like I said a minute ago, they might give you a question that's picked from the information, but they've changed a word from it. So they might say the direct distance across the channel is approximately 21 miles. Although that could be a fact, it might actually say in the text it was 28 miles. Okay, so they'll be sneaky. Okay, so you've got to be careful about identifying the true facts by looking at it in the text and identifying if it's a fact or an opinion. Okay, so be careful those ones because they can trick you out. And then we have the questions that none of you like. Okay, and I understand why they can be quite difficult, and we are yet to really dig deep into our 3-mark questions about how to do these. So don't worry about 3-mark questions. It'll be a big focus for us to look on next term. Okay, but the idea here is you have 3 marks, and usually you have to give 2 points. Okay, so explain says, it doesn't always say explain 2 ways. Some of the one, I know one of the ones that you did the other day, it says explain your answer fully, giving evidence to the text. And it was the one about the magic and the girl that had disappeared, or the boy that had disappeared. It was the first text that you'd read. Now, when it says explain fully, you've got to give 2 reasons. So in what ways might Martine's character appeal to many readers? So 1, well, she's a happy character, which means that she'd be easy to get along with, or she'd be easy to understand. And B, she's friendly, okay? When you make a point, you explain. Okay, so I might say her characters appeal to readers. Well, she's happy. That's my point. Okay, that's 1 mark. Then I'm going to expand on it. So I'm going to explain, well, how does it then appeal to readers? Well, it makes her approachable. It makes her nice. People then want to talk to her. That's 2 marks already from 1 point. You then make a second point, then explain on it. Boom, you've got your 3 marks. Okay. But we will have a look at 3-mark questions. And it says here that we've got specific resources that will help with this one. We're going to look at some 3-mark questions when we come back, okay? But give it a go. So the aim is that you give 2 points, one of which needs to be then supported by evidence. So explain 2 ways that the whale seems mysterious. So give me your point, give me a second point, expand on one of them. Give me some evidence. Where does it say in the text that person's mysterious, okay? Those ones can be a challenge, but give them a go. We will be practicing a lot of those when we come back. And then we have this one, which is giving both sides. Okay, so this is where you have to support a piece of text or an answer, and then you've got to give the opposing opinion on the other side. Okay, so you've got to give one reason why something might be the case, and then an opposite reason why it might not be the case. So this is where you need to sit and you have to be impartial. So to be impartial is where you have no opinion on either side of a matter that's happening. Okay, and the aim of being impartial is you then need to be able to see it from one person's point of view and the other person's point of view, and that's what you have to do with this question. It says when Michael touched the well, it felt smooth. So you've got to give 1 point why he may have expected it to feel smooth. So think about what you know about whale skin. And then on the other side, well, why might he have expected it not to be smooth? So that's where you've got to use your judgment and think from both points of view. Okay, so what you're going to do is you've got this same text at home. It's not necessarily this one, but it's the looking at the Raiders Peril one. Okay, and you are going to have a go at doing that activity. Okay, so when we sum up the inference, the aim at the end of all of your work that you'd have done for this lesson is to think, well, what is Inference Iggy here to help you to do? What sort of question might Iggy ask? So go through and have a look at the questions you've got today, see if you can identify the different question types from the beginning of the lesson, and think about how you're going to make sure you get full marks. So specifically for that 3-mark question, give 2 points, and then provide evidence. So think your point, your evidence. So you've got a point, and your evidence. So PPE, okay? If you can give 2 points, you've got 2 marks. If you give evidence for the other one, you've got your 3 marks. 3 marks, 3 things to write about, okay? So have a look at the questions that you've been sent home, okay? Have a go at doing them. If you're stuck and you don't understand the question types or what it's asking you to do, come back and have a watch this video and go back and look through the descriptions of each of the different question types to see if that helps you, okay? And we will pick up another reading skill that we are going to have a look at on Friday, okay? So give it a go and see how you get on. Good luck.